In this video, we're going to be talking about how to find the inverse of an exponential function. As you take a look at this part of the equation right here, we notice that you have the x in the exponent, and that is what tells us that it is an exponential. And so therefore, we know that if we're trying to find the inverse, you need to be using logarithms. So we have two main methods we've been talking about. You can either do the list method or the switch method. We'll start with the list method here, where you list out what the steps are you're doing to x. So you focus on your x, which is right here in the exponent. The very first thing in your order of operations is you are then adding 11 to that x. And once you figured out that quantity, you're doing the 26 to the power of whatever you got for that. So that's kind of an odd thing to have to write there, but thinking that you're doing the exponential, and then you finish by subtracting 57. So this is a three-step problem. If it was a two-step problem or a one-step problem, you would approach it kind of the same way. And since we are doing the inverse, you're going to undo these steps in the opposite order. So I am going to first add 57 to x, and then I have to do the logarithm with a base of 26, because that's the inverse of an exponential, and then we'll finish by subtracting 11. So to your inverse, or to find your inverse rather, so you start with your inverse notation, and then to x, you're going to add 57. And actually, I should leave a little bit more space here because we know what we're going to do next is the logarithm of that. So I'll put the x plus 57 here. You're going to do the log base 26 of that quantity. So that's a key thing, that you're adding 11 first. You're adding 57 first, and then you're doing the logarithm of that quantity. And so log base 26, because this has a base of 26, and then you're going to finish by subtracting 11. And that will be your solution. You have your three-step inverse problem. When you're starting with an exponential, you should have a logarithm, or you must have a logarithm in your answer in order to complete it. Now, if we take a look at the switch method, it's just a little bit more of an algebraic approach where you have a step-by-step work here. And so the switch method is when since you know that x's and y's switch in inverses, we have put the x where the y was and the y where the x was, and then you're trying to get this y by itself. So you can see that we first add 57 to both sides to get this part of the equation alone. So that's what we have here. So we've added 57, and then you need to undo your exponential. And like it says down here, in order to undo exponential, you need to use logarithms with the correct base. This had a base of 26. So you do that to both sides, and in doing so, those cancel each other out. That's exactly what we're saying with our inverses. And you finish by subtracting 11, because that's your remaining thing to get y by itself. And notice how I switch my notation here, because it's a different equation. I switch it to the inverse notation, y to the -1. That is your inverse. And that is how you can find the inverse of an exponential equation.